We're good.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this orientation session for first-time lay members to our annual conference. Before we get started and really get into our information this evening, just a few reminders. Um, First, we are recording tonight's sessions so that it will be made available for playback on our conference website. And so, to reduce the background noise, if you could be sure to make sure that your microphone is muted unless you're speaking, and you should see at the bottom of your screen an opportunity for a chat window. If you do have questions as we're going through, we welcome you to use the chat to enter your questions. Depending on which of us are presenting, we'll try to take turns in monitoring that chat to make sure we answer all your questions. But we will have time at the end for any questions that we haven't answered. We'll be sure to save some time at the end for any questions that anyone may have. And so let's go ahead and get started. By way of introduction, I am John Crane. I have the honor of serving as the conference lay leader for the Western North Carolina Conference. And I live in Gastonia, North Carolina, and I worship at First United Methodist Church in Gastonia. And my co-host this evening is Reverend Kim Ingram. So, Kim, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Ingram. I am the Director of Ministerial Services and the Conference Secretary. Most of my work with annual conference is related to my job as the Conference Secretary. I live in Belmont, North Carolina, really just down the road from John, and I worship at First United Methodist Church in Belmont. And it's nice to be here with you all. We look forward to being together really soon at Lake Junaluska.
Thank you very much. So, this evening, we're going to start by just providing you some background information about what is annual conference. And then we want to share information with you about how to prepare, making sure you understand where to go once you get there and how we will spend our time together once we're at Lake Junaluska. And then we have just a few hints and tips on things you might need to know to survive your first annual conference. And so, with that as our background, let's start by talking about what is annual conference. So this can be a little bit confusing because we use the phrase annual conference in a couple of different ways within the United Methodist Church. In in this context, what we mean is that our annual conference meeting is a yearly meeting where clergy and laity members meet to handle um, especially the business of the conference. And that includes we receive reports related to various missions and ministries. We commission and ordain clergy. We approve the conference budget. We approve the nominations of clergy and laypersons to serve on various conference committees. And then, when necessary, we vote on petitions that have been appropriately submitted that relate to either operations of our conference, or sometimes they're ones that speak to a social, economic, or theological topic where the person or group submitting the petition believes the annual conference should express an opinion. In addition to that, it's just an opportunity for us to gather and celebrate our connection. And it also is surrounded with a number of very special worship services and Bible study and some other events that help us live into our connection and also build our discipleship. Now, in terms of who attends annual conference, all elders, deacons, and local pastors attend, and we have an equal number of laypersons. Each charge is allowed one lay member for each clergy that's appointed to the charge, and other laity then are chosen as at-large members, and they may be asked to be represent their district, or they could be representing the conference as needed to ensure that we have an equal number of clergy and lay members. So some of you that are joining this evening might be um, might be representing your church at annual conference. Others of you may have been asked to serve as an at-large member of your of the district or of the conference. And really, that doesn't matter when we're there. We're as laity. everyone votes together as laity, regardless of the reason that you have been asked to be a lay member. So we also need to talk about what is an annual conference, because we also use annual conference to refer to the name that's given to a regional organization that comprises the United Methodist Church. So we here are in the Western North Carolina Annual Conference. You can see that we have that our annual conference is part of what's referred to as the Southeastern jurisdiction. And so if you think about it as a hierarchy, beginning with your local church, we organize local churches into districts. Those districts are organized into annual conferences. Annual conferences are made up of jurisdictional conferences, and then all of the jurisdictional conferences and conferences inside and outside the United States make up what we call the General Conference. And so, uh, when you if you tell somebody, "Hey, I'm going to annual conference," they may wonder, "Well, I thought we all were the annual conference." So, in this particular context, we're talking about annual conference as our annual meeting, but you'll most often heard to us recognized as the Western North Carolina Annual Conference. Um, okay, so let's talk a little bit about how to prepare. So, the most important thing you can do for preparing is to make sure that you are visiting the annual conference website. And you can see that here at www.ac2025.org. If you visit that website, and you can see on a visual of what it looks like, and down the left-hand side, you'll see all of these different topics. Each of those are providing you with important information on things about coming to annual conference, registration, our business, and materials that you'll need. There's also links there to information about pre-conference videos and other kinds of things that you'll want to watch as a way to prepare yourself. There are the materials for annual conference are contained in three resources primarily. The first is the program and reports booklet. And again, there's a link to that. If you look under annual conference under
Publications.
the publications link, which you may not be able to see on my screen, but on the publications link, there's a link to that program and reports booklet, and it's already published. It is the place that the schedule and all of the information about the speakers and the reports that have been submitted by all of the various committees and boards and associated agencies. All of that material is located in your program and reports booklet. And so you will want to begin reviewing that if you haven't already. It was just published, I think, at the end of last week, early this week. And so if you want to, you can print that out. It's a pretty big document. So a lot of folks choose to download it maybe to their phone or a tablet, but you're welcome to print that if you would like to do that. Now, there's two other booklets that are available. The annual conference supplement, and that is not yet published. That is information that is it takes a little longer to prepare, and so as a result of that, it's not published until a little closer to annual conference. In addition, we will have there's a worship book that has the information about all of the worship services, the liturgies, the responses, and the hymns, and those kind of things. The worship booklet, we will have printed copies of those for folks at registration. But the program and resource books and the annual conference supplement are available online, and you'll need to either print your own copies of those or download them to some device. So let me pause there. Kim, anything you would want to add about the various resources that are online?
No, I put this in the chat because the program and reports book is a lot of pages. We really don't recommend you print it. It's really for information in advance and preparation, but the supplement has everything that you need for the business of the conference. So that's the one that you really need to be sure to have with you. And the reason we suggest you download it is because the internet can be tricky at Lake Junaluska. And so if you count on accessing it kind of live from the website at that point, you may have trouble getting it to work as quickly or as well as you want for it to. So if you have it downloaded on a device, then you're able to get to it without needing the internet.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So say it with me now. AC2025.org. That's your one place to go where all the information that you're going to need is there. If it's available directly at that website. You can also, if you forget that, you can go to our conference website, wnccumc.org, and you'll see a link there to it as well. But that is the place where all of the information that we're covering tonight is available for you to consult as you get closer to annual conference and while you're at annual conference. So let's talk about when you arrive. Now, the first thing you need to understand about arriving at Lake Junaluska is that there are two different types of registration, and it depends on whether or not you are staying in a Lake Junaluska housing option, whether that's either the Terrace Hotel or one of the any of the hotels or any of the cottages or any of the other kinds of things that are part of Lake Junaluska. Then when you show up, you're going to want to first go to the Buffet Welcome Center. If you are not staying on campus, so you have a hotel somewhere else in Waynesville or Maggie Valley, or you're local to the area and you're just driving back and forth every day, then you do not need to go to the Welcome Center. You will need to go instead to register for annual conference, and that is in the Terrace Hotel in the third floor auditorium. If you are staying on campus, after you go to the Buffet Welcome Center to check in for your lodging accommodations, then you also then need to go to the Terrace third floor auditorium to register your arrival at annual conference. So there are maps available if you go to Lake Junaluska site. We've included one here in the presentation. It gives you a lot of information about the various things that are available on the campus, different kinds of points of interest, and those types of things. For our purpose this evening, the areas that we're talking about are highlighted here in yellow. So the Buffet Welcome Center is located just off of Highway 19. As you go into Lake Junaluska, you'll turn, if you turn there into the main entranceway, the Buffet Welcome Center is just on your left. And then the Terrace Hotel, you can see that here kind of at the top of the presentation. It is on into the campus, and the other events that will be taking place during annual conference are all located in that same area there around the Terrace Hotel. So once you arrive, you will want to if you're staying, as I said, if you're staying at Lake Junaluska, make sure you check in at the Buffet Welcome Center. You'll get your check in for your room and receive your room keys there. And then you can move on to the registration site at the terrace. So with that, and this is just showing you a picture so you know what you're looking for. The Terrace Hotel here in the top right-hand corner, that's where we're having registration. There's some other events that'll take place there. There's also a lot of folks choose to go there for meals, so that you can go there for lunch or for dinner. And then Stewart Auditorium is located across the street from the Terrace Hotel, and that is where all the business sessions and the worship sessions for annual conference take place. So now that we have you on site, I'm going to turn it over to Kim, and she's going to talk to you about registration and how the business of the annual conference actually progresses.
So when we talk about registration, it can be also confusing because you actually are already registered. You don't need to do anything in advance of conference to register for annual conference because we know who is going to be coming. We know the laity that have been identified by the churches and the districts. We know the clergy. So we have all that information already ready to go, and we will print name tags for you. And when you come to the Terrace Auditorium on the third floor, you will find tables set up that are by district. So you will go to the table that has your district name kind of over the table, and that's where they will have your name tag and give you the other materials that you need for annual conference. That will be true whether or not you are a layperson representing your church or the district. All laity will register on one side of the room and all clergy will register on the other side of the room. And as this says, it's really registering your presence. As long as you receive your name badge, you will have been marked as being present. Registration will open on Thursday at 11 in the morning and run till 6 p.m. And then it'll open again on Friday at 8:30 in the morning and run till 5:30 p.m. But if you happen to not get there until after 5:30 on Friday, you will be able to pick up your name badge. They will be taken over to Stewart Auditorium to the usher desk, and you'll be able to get your name tag there. So the schedule is a combination of worship services and business sessions. And don't be concerned about business sessions. Some of it's actual business where we've got to vote on some things and do the business of conference. But it also includes some presentations and some other experiences that will provide things for you to take home and be able to use in your congregations, information to share with other people, inspiration for ideas you might get. So there are a lot of things that we do during what we call a business session. All of the business sessions are in Stewart Auditorium. And you may sit anywhere you like in the auditorium. Often people find where they like to sit and then they sit there from year after year. So you might try something the first time you go in, and if you don't really like that, go somewhere and sit in another different seat the next time and just get to a place that you feel comfortable and that you like being. You will see on the annual conference schedule that is both in the program and reports book and behind the schedules tab on the annual conference webpage, the detailed schedule of what to expect when the meal breaks are, and the kind of highlights what we'll be doing during the business sessions. One of the things we want to be sure you're aware of are the constitutional amendments, and hopefully you've already participated in a session that is specifically to tell you more about the constitutional amendments. But if you have not, we have another one coming up next Monday night virtually, and you don't have to register for it. We just will have that information on the webpage. We're planning to do that on Friday afternoon in the opening business session. We have only had one petition submitted for this year that is outside of kind of the regular business petitions that we do. And it is scheduled for Saturday afternoon. You can see it printed in the program and reports book so that you've read it in advance and are familiar with it. So hopefully it says that we don't have to get all the petitions done, but hopefully with only there being one, we will have a chance to get to it. Now, we follow Robert's Rules of Order when we do the business. So if somebody wants to speak to an item, you raise your hand. There are 4 microphones that are kind of in the middle, across the middle of the auditorium, and they have numbers on them, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the bishop would recognize you. He would tell you which microphone to go to, and then you would identify your name and your church and your district, and then you would say what you had come to the microphone to say. We allow 3 people to speak in favor of something and 3 people to speak against, and usually it's a 3-minute time limit unless the body says, let's make it less than that. Excuse me. Amendments can be made from the floor, except for the constitutional amendments. They can't be amended. But for all the rest of the business we'll do, you can also raise your hand and say you want to make an amendment, and then we debate that, and then we go back to the main petition and then go from there. Usually we will vote from a show of hands, except for the constitutional amendments, and those will be on a paper ballot. Sometimes if it's a close vote, we might need you to stand up and then the ushers would count you. and we would count a ballot that way. And it can be that a petition or an amendment or a recommendation or something could be considered out of order by the bishop. That is the prerogative as the, I can't think of the official title, but the person in charge. He gets to make those decisions as it conflicts or doesn't conflict with the Book of Discipline. So those are some of the things that you'll expect to participate in during our business sessions.
And Kim, I think, and you may have said this just so that folks know, there's, to vote, you have to be in person and you have to be in Stewart Auditorium at the time that the vote is taken, right? So
that's right, and you need to be sitting down.
Right. So okay.
So the constitutional amendments, I referenced that. There will be 4 constitutional amendments that we're going to vote on this year. They have come from the General Conference that met last year here in Charlotte, and they are changes to the Constitution of the United Methodist Church that you find in the Book of Discipline. Now, once General Conference has approved by a 2/3 vote a change in the Constitution, it comes to all of the annual conferences for a vote. And then the collective vote of all the annual conferences, all the members of the annual conferences are totaled. And if 2/3 of all of those people voting say yes, then the change will occur. Once all the annual conferences have met and done all of the voting, the results go to the Council of Bishops, and they have to certify the election or certify the votes. And we expect that to happen when they meet in the fall. Just a high level of the topics of the amendments. One is on worldwide regionalization. The next one is on adding gender and ability around membership in the church. It's titled Inclusiveness in the Church. The next one is a commitment to racial justice. And the last one is about the educational requirements, really clarifying that for local pastors to elect clergy delegates to General Conference. We will do this on Friday afternoon by paper ballot, and all lay members are eligible to vote. So as long as you're a lay person and you get a name tag with a yellow or an orange cord, you are eligible to participate in voting on constitutional amendments. We make that really clear because not all clergy are able to vote on constitutional amendments, but all laity are. And like I said, if you have not done the work around that, we really encourage you to learn all about that. And this is where it is. I forgot what the next slide was. This is where you can learn more about the amendments. As you go to that website, and then there's a link that says constitutional amendments. You'll see a video that the bishop and I did. You'll see an Equip and Connect webinar that was earlier this year that focuses on all 4 amendments. You'll see a United Methodist Church Connectional Table webinar on regionalization. And then you'll see articles and handouts. Honestly, if you read all of that, you could do the presentation about the constitutional amendments, and you could just do my job when we get there. But if you'll get informed, if you have questions, we have an online question and answer form. If you will complete and ask the question, I will email you and answer your question. We also have a Q&A that's just kind of a brief overview Q&A. And like I said, next Monday night, we're going to do another information session. So we really want you to have the information you need in order to be able to feel like you're educated and informed on the constitutional amendments.
And Kim, can you just share with the group about not revealing the vote? Like what?
Yes.
Normally we do that. So yeah.
Yeah. So once the ballots have all been collected and then we count them, we are not able to announce what the vote from Western North Carolina is, not in the session and not later on the website or in any other fashion. We submit that to the General Conference Secretary, and she receives all of the ballot summaries, the collection of votes, and then they'll add them up. And if they were reported out from each conference, then people would be able to go online at least and begin to count how the votes were going. And it could influence how future annual conferences voted, or it could create, I don't know, a different pattern or a different strategy. So it really is kept until everybody's had a chance to equally vote with the same information. And then once the aggregate vote has been counted, it will be announced later in the year.
Excellent. Thank you.
So we are very excited about a new thing that we're offering this year that is part of our annual conference business. It's part of the regular schedule of the annual conference, and it's called Connective Conversations. And they are being held on Saturday morning from 8:30 to 10. And they are small group conversations. Well, small group compared to the 2,000 people in the auditorium. So they'll probably have anywhere between, I don't know, 40, 60, 75 people, depending on the size of the room. You can see here on the slide what the topics are. Most of them relate to kind of congregational life. So you can see if you're interested and want to learn more about a dinner church, if you want to become a congregation that offers refuge and healing, if you're a rural church and you want to think more about what it means to do innovation in a rural church, like you get to choose. You don't need to sign up in advance. You get to choose which of these conversations you want to be a part of. And at the beginning of them, there will be 1 to 3 people setting up a framework for the conversation. But then it's really a chance for you all to talk to one another, or for everybody to talk to one another, to share experiences you've had, learning you've had, questions you've had. In order, we just don't have the ability in the Stewart Auditorium to really have conversation. And we get a lot of feedback that we don't get that opportunity when we're together. So this is the framework we're going to use for this year. I will say there, the second to the bottom says 3 practice circles. And what those are a little bit different. That's an actual tool that you're going to experience and learn to use, where you stay with difference in a conversation or in a place, in a context. And so there will be a framing question, and then there will be kind of directed conversation in a way that people will have different opinions. And it's how do you kind of respectfully listen, share, kind of be a part of a conversation. So that one will be a little bit different. And then the one on how and why to read the Bible is the bishop. He's going to do that in the auditorium, and that won't be conversational in style, kind of the way the rest of them are. So I do hope that you will make plans to be a part of it. We're excited about it, and we'll take your feedback from this year and then see what we do next year with it. But no preparation is needed. Just show up and be a part.
Kim, one of the questions was about can I sign up for or can I attend more than one? And I was just sharing that they're scheduled to all take the time from 8:30 to 10. So I mean, folks are yeah. I mean, obviously you could go to one and then choose to stay for part of it and maybe go to see if you can get into another one, but it's not designed in a way that where you could sign up for say one of them from 8:30 to 9:15 and one from 9:15 to 10. They all take the full time, so it's really intended to be one engagement, one conversation that you would stay part of.
That's right. It's exciting to think that you see more than one you want to participate in. So we'll be sure to want to know that kind of feedback, because we could do some of it again next year. Or we can find other ways to begin to, for the things that people are really interested in, we can find other ways to do webinars and other kind of training and conversations to engage people in them. So it's good to know what you're interested in. Can your non-voting spouse go to a connective conversation? I would say yes. There is limited space, but we want you to engage and to really appreciate and enjoy the time. So, if it gets really full and it feels like it's taking a spot that somebody else is trying to get, you can kind of consider that. But I would encourage that they could give it a try if they're interested in it.
And Kim, while we're on the topic of like non-voting guests, can you speak to that in regards to just like the business sessions as
Sure.
well?
It used to be that there wasn't enough space for people who were not members, who were just the guests, to be in the auditorium during the business sessions, but that really is not an issue anymore. So if you have a friend or a spouse or somebody that is not a member but is coming with you and would like to sit in on any of the sessions, they would be welcome to do that, as well as the workshops and the special events and the other things that are going on. The main thing is they can't vote.
Thank you. Yep. And if they're well, and I'll cover that in a minute. I was just going to say there's some other options for folks as well to kind of view it if they
There are
can't.
more comfortable places to do
There are
that.
more comfortable places. I understand that.
So some of the things just to be aware of that will be a part of it. We hope if you're there on Thursday night that you'll join us for the Juneteenth celebration worship service. That'll be at 7 o'clock because it is Juneteenth on that Thursday. And so we look forward to recognizing that evening. We begin with opening worship on Friday at 10:30. And then the other worship services include the Celebration of Life service on Saturday morning at 10:30. The Ordering of Ministry service, which is on Saturday night at 7:30. That's the licensing, commissioning, and ordination service. And then closing worship is the last thing we do together on Sunday at 10. We also have the retirement celebration on Friday afternoon. That's not a formal worship service in the same way these are, but it is a chance to recognize the retiring clergy Friday afternoon. And it follows the Bible study. Bishop Sue Hopper Johnson will be leading the Bible study on Friday. On Friday night, several years ago now, we've been doing this for a little bit, I guess since COVID, when we were trying to get people kind of reconnected with each other, we started this Connected Annual Conference on Friday night. On the conference website, you can see what all the different things going on that evening are. But we really encourage you to participate in those. They're a lot of fun. It's a way to meet some new people. And especially if you come by yourself, it's a way to engage and interact in sort of a non-threatening way with other people at conference. And then finally, these pre-conference learning opportunities. This year, we have workshops from 1 to 3 on Thursday afternoon. They are not limited to annual conference members. Anybody, whether if you live in the Waynesville district and or it's not the Waynesville district anymore, where'd that come from? The Smoky Mountain district, and you want to just drive over the Blue Ridge district, just drive for the day and attend a workshop, you're welcome to do that. We do ask for advance registration on these. And they are Thursday afternoon from 1 to 3. And if you came last year, they're not in the same, oh, y'all are all new, so I guess you didn't. But if you talk to somebody that came last year, they're not in the same location. We've made them more accessible this year. So we're also looking forward to that.
The pre-conference workshops are really a great learning opportunity. That's also something that we evolved based on feedback that we were hearing a lot from Laity around the opportunity to really learn about new information, new tools, techniques, and things that they could take back to their congregations. That's something that we began doing for the first time last year, and got a lot of positive feedback on it. So we're doing it again this year. Hopefully, if you are available to be there on Thursday early, then please do take a look at the pre-conference workshops, and we hope that you'll pick one of those that you would like to attend. Okay, just a few things that I wanted to share with you about kind of hints and tips. So Lake Junaluska is beautiful, and there are many, many things to love about it. Parking is not one of them. The parking can be a challenge during annual conference. There is, parking at the hotels. There's parking close to Stewart Auditorium, and there's parking that extends all down what they call the Rose Walk, kind of around the lake. But the parking does tend to fill up pretty quickly. And so I would say if you are staying off campus and driving over, make sure that you allow sufficient time when you get on campus to get parked. There is shuttle services. So from some areas, for some of the parking, for example, there's overflow parking at the Bethea Welcome Center down in that area. And there are shuttle services that run they run all across the campus. So you can, if you're staying up at, if you're somewhere and need to get to up to the hotel or those kind of things, you're welcome to jump on those shuttles. But that does take them 10 or 15 minutes to make the round. So make sure you plan accordingly for that. The food situation at Lake Junaluska, the food options are limited. There are cafeterias there at the terrace, and you can purchase your meals ad hoc or one off at a la carte. Sorry if you are staying off campus, you can stay on campus and you're not required to have your meals there. So, some folks choose to eat off campus even though they're staying on campus at one of the hotels. Um, but I would I would say, it's also a good idea. Sometimes these things can run long, so feel free to, bring a pack of crackers or a water bottle or something like that. You are allowed to have those things in Stewart Auditorium. So if you do what you need to do in terms of being comfortable and in terms of making sure that you are staying hydrated and that you have a snack or those kind of things. We do have, lunch and dinner breaks, and that's the time that, folks would, if necessary, you can head off campus to get something to eat if you'd like to do that. There in Lake Junaluska, um, there's I think like a Bojangles really close by. There's a lot of restaurants that are about a 10-minute drive in Waynesville, both in terms of sit down restaurants and quick service restaurants, and then there's restaurants down in Maggie Valley. But we don't have very long for the breaks, so just keep in mind when you're making those plans. If you have to get to your car, drive off campus, get something to eat, drive back, that can sometimes be a little challenging with the because everybody's trying to get a meal at the same time.
John, there will
Um,
be a food truck for lunch on Thursday. No, lunch on Friday, dinner on
right.
Friday, lunch on Saturday. And then Lake Junaluska, I think they're supposed to be doing a grill with hamburgers and hot dogs, that kind of thing.
Oh,
So there
good.
will
Okay.
be kind of out between Stewart and we're trying to get another food truck, and that's not confirmed, but there may be two kind of between Stewart and Harrell Center that's next door.
Great. That helps. And I would there also just for awareness there is a like a there is a store in the Herald Center that sells ice cream and coffee. And so there's those options as well.
So who needs food if you have ice cream?
Exactly. Um, Attire. So come and dress comfortably. And I will say, you will see some folks tend to, dress in more, not necessarily say formally, but long pants and a polo for men, like a polo shirt or a long sleeve shirt. But you will also see folks who choose to come in shorts and a t-shirt. So there is no dress code. And just to be honest, it does get pretty warm in Stewart Auditorium. It is air conditioned, but when you've got a place that's that big and you've got that many people in it, it is not necessarily the same cool temperature that you might keep your residence or your hotel room. And so feel free to dress in a way that is going to make sure that you don't get overheated. And also feel free, like if you have a small hand fan, I've actually seen in the last couple of years, I've seen people that have, if you've got one of those fans that hang, some folks bring those small fans that they kind of put around their neck and it kind of blows air on them. And I think one year it may have been that some of those were handed out from one of our vendors or one of our ministry partners. So feel free to do that as well. In that regard, it is good to pace yourself and take breaks. On the days that are longer, Kim does have some structured break times built in for us. Sometimes there's breaks scheduled as we have to transition, say from a business session to a worship session and those kind of things. So there'll be an opportunity for you to take a break there. But if you need to take a break and get overheated or are feeling uncomfortable in any way, please make sure that you do that. And to that extent, one of the things I was going to share is for example, in the lobby of the terrace, there is they have everything is live streamed. So there in the lobby, they have a big screen TV where some folks will go there and sit in the cool to watch some of the things that are where we're not taking votes. It's just more kind of more informational in nature, and obviously friends or family who may be going with you could also take advantage of that. And then we've also already spoken to guests, and as Kim said, we welcome others to come to participate in the events, and particularly the worship services are always open to everyone. We would just ask that you be mindful of the aspect of making sure that there's a space available for those connectional conversations. That may be the only area where, because space is somewhat limited, if you get there and there's already a lot of folks, that it may be good for your guests to choose a different option.
John, one other thing I thought of is you want to bring an umbrella
Oh
because
yeah,
if it rains, the minute you walk out of Stewart Auditorium, you'll get wet. So
yep,
it's really helpful to have an umbrella.
yep. Yeah, exactly. So okay, and so really that's the information that we wanted to share with you this evening. We're very much looking forward to seeing you on the mountain, as they say. We want to just take a few minutes and see are there any questions that folks have that we have not yet had a chance to answer. And you're welcome to come off mute, or you can um, raise your hand on your icon, and we'll look and call on you if anyone has any questions.
Hello. Um,
Hey, Andra.
hey. I just have a quick question about worship services. I mean, I'm looking forward to all the worship services, but are there any that are required for us to participate
Um, no, no, no. I mean, they're not the worship services. We don't do business in the worship services, and so there are none that you are required to attend. They all are. Um, they have different designs to them, and there are some excellent leaders who are going to be leading those worship services for us. But as I said, sometimes folks just need a break, and maybe they aren't able to attend, they choose not to attend one of the worship services and go back and watch it online in their room, or in some other way, and that's fine as well. I will say that the Saturday night worship service is always a special time because that's when we do the commissioning and of provisional the ordination services for our clergy, and so that is always a very special worship service that if you're there, I encourage you to try to participate in, but there are none that are required.
So, John, Kathy asks about housing, and I would ask your pastor or anybody else that might be coming from your church where they're staying, and maybe you can stay there as well. But it is up to you to go ahead and make your own housing reservations. Lake Junaluska fills up when we offer the housing in February, but then sometimes people do cancel their reservations close to time. So then housing opens back up at Lake Junaluska in that way, sometimes close to time. So you could try Lake Junaluska, and otherwise then Maggie Valley or Waynesville are generally the best places to look for a hotel room.
Great, thank you. And Kim, there's a question just about how many lay delegates will are we expecting? Um, I know things have
Yeah, I
changed
could
now that
look that up, but it'd take me a minute to find it. It's about hold on. Gosh, I want to say it's about 1,300 and 1,300 laity and clergy when you add in, or it may be more than that. I should know that. When you add in the retired clergy,
Yeah, that's an important clarification. So it's all when we say all clergy, that includes our retired clergy as well. So it's more than just active clergy that are there, and so we have to have a lay person for every clergy person who's going to be there. Um, one other thing that Kim's comment about folks changing their plans brought to mind. Obviously, you're here this evening because you're expecting to be able to attend. But if something does come up where you later learn that you are not going to be able to be there, if you are representing your church, you need to inform your pastor. And if you are an at-large lay member from your district or from the conference, we would ask that you contact your district office so they can know that you're not going to be there and might be able to extend that to someone who's willing to serve as kind of a backup. But hopefully everyone will be able to be there and we'll have no issues with that. Um, Yeah, Andres references bringing comfortable walking shoes, and boy, that is the case. I don't do much walking up and down hills here in Gastonia, and I know when I go to Lake Junaluska, some of those areas are can be a bit challenging, but it's beautiful, and we do hope that you'll take advantage there. You'll also, there's um, there will be people set up. We have vendors who set up booths both outside of Stewart Auditorium and over in the Herald Center. So while you're taking one of your breaks, maybe at lunch and dinner, we hope that you will have an opportunity to visit those booths because there's a lot of good information on various ministries and different resources that you may find helpful for you and for your church.
And you get free stuff, so you should walk around to them and get free stuff.
Yeah, so that's right. That's why. Now, Kim, are we given the carriers? Will we have carrier bags at registration?
There will be bags at registration this year.
So that's to me it's I get my carrier bag at registration, and then it's like it's like trunk or treat for adults. Going around to the different vendors and putting their materials in there. I always come back with a load of stuff. So.
Well, and you will be expected to share some of what you experienced and learned with your congregation. Amy Yeager, our Director of Communications, puts together at the end kind of a fact sheet or an information sheet or something to help you do that. But do think as you go along, what would other people like to know? What is a resource or a tool or some information that you might pick up at the resource center that it's not something you need to know, but there's some other people in your congregation would be really interested in that. So kind of think about that as you go through the experience.
Yeah, great reminder. Thank you. Are there any other questions from folks?
Yeah, sure we have change. They're like ones, the five, the tens. Just
all right. Well, if there are no other questions, we will go ahead and close our session this evening. We want to thank you again for joining us. Someone had asked in the chat if the presentation would be available, and it will be. We'll be sending that to Amy so that you can have, if you want to visit the conference website, you'll be able to download a copy of the presentation so that if you need those links, they're in there. But again, if you just go to www.ac2025.org, you can access all of the information that we talked about this evening. So, Kim, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and thank you for the outstanding job that you and your staff do every year to organize this. It is a tremendous undertaking. We are so grateful for your leadership and your partnership with the laity in this effort. I'm grateful for all of our laity who take time away from their families, in some cases jobs and other commitments, to be there. It is important work that we do together, and it is part of what makes us United Methodist. So I'm looking forward to seeing you. If you think of other questions, please submit those through the conference website. We'll be glad to provide you all the information that you need. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining this evening. I hope everyone has a restful evening, and we'll see you in a few weeks at Lake Junaluska. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.